I was struggling with the verse as a Bible translator because I had to translate it. One thing when you read Bible and for your own understanding, and another thing when as a translator I need to unpack the meaning for my audience so that my native speakers can understand the meaning of this verse. And here I am reading Galatians chapter 6, and my husband Terry will help me.
Brethren, even if a man is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, each one looking to yourself, lest you too be tempted. Bear one another's burdens and fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let each one examine his own work, and then he will have reason for boasting in regard to himself alone and not in regard to another. For each one shall bear his own load.
So this is Galatians chapter 6 from verse 1 to 5. And I was thinking, I always thought that bear each other's burden, it's mean help each other in their problems, in their difficult situation. But when I was looking at the context and I thought, wait a minute, how does that fit with verse 1 when it says, go to your brother and tell him you are doing wrong. Don't do it. So, right? And I thought, wow, maybe this Greek word has another meaning. So I started to dig and started the Greek word.
Right, you're not helping out a brother in need. You're confronting a brother who's made some sort of mistake there, right? I know the important thing here is that this was written by Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
It was written using Greek language, but it was written, there's Jewish thought behind the Greek language to get at it. It's sort of like when I was in Costa Rica, I went with a young man to a soccer game, and we were rooting for opposite teams. So he had this really loud noisemaker. I'm sure you could hear it throughout the whole stadium. And whenever his team did something good, he'd sound it off. Well, at halftime, he passed it to me, who was from the other team, and said, "Here, be scandalous." Now, he was just a young guy, and he didn't. This, if you say in English, "be scandalous," it has a certain connotation. I'm sure that that's not exactly what he meant. But the personality or the connotation of what he said, you had to have a Spanish understanding of what it means to be scandalous, not a British one. To really get the gist. And that's the same with I think here in Galatians, we have this bearing a burden. We need the Hebrew connotation to it, not the Greek.
Exactly. That was the missing link. And when I started to think that direction, a verse, I recall the verse when Jesus said, you Pharisees to Pharisees, you put a lot of loads on people and do not lift even your finger to fulfill them. So in that context, and there were some other contexts from Acts and when the apostle
right,
right?
They decided not to burden the new believers after the council with anything other than abstaining from idolatry, blood, and animals that were strangled in blood, and adultery. Those were the only burdens or the only obligations that they were going to say you have to meet.
So these verses helped us to understand that with the Jewish mindset, burden can mean teaching and obligation in front of God. So putting that meaning in this verse made everything clear to me. Like, oh, I'm not helping my brother with some problems. Let's help to move out. But I am helping to my brother to stay in track, fulfilling God's teaching, God's obligation, and then everything works because next thing it says that what's that? And thus fulfill the law of Christ. So if I tell the person this is sin, thus helps the person to fulfill the law of Christ.
Right. I was confused reading it. Verse 2, it says that we should bear one another's burdens.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the passage, it says, for each one shall bear his own burdens.
Yeah. So you help with the problems and then everyone has his own problem. Does not make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense unless you consider it obligations. I have a particular individualized obligation in front of God, and you have your own set. So I can help you bear your obligation, but in the end, you're the one who needs to measure up to what God expects of you. And you can help me, but in the end, I'm the one that needs to measure up to what God expects from me. It's my obligation that you can help with. From a Jewish mindset, it makes sense. From a Greek or English, it gets a little bit muddled there, doesn't it?
Yeah. So of course, there are many other places in Bible that teaches us that we help each other. We like we help with the problems, but not in Galatians. Galatians context teaches the different thing. So it actually helped me also after I understood that. I thought, oh, it's good. So especially now at times when the people are so offensive, take offend easily when you go and try to show the person, look, that is what you're doing actually is not right. And this verse helped me. Wow, if I do it with love, making sure that I'm not a judgmental. It's not to judge and kind of like push the person down, but I'm doing because I love the person and I want that person to fulfill the obligation that that person has in front of the Lord. So that helps. And actually, this is one of the things I should do if I love my brother and sister. And we started to practice it, doing it more often, helping our brothers and sisters.
Bearing one another's burdens to help them bear their own burden. Okay?
And so that we will bear our own burdens, so many burdens. Anyway, so if you liked our video, please like our video and help more people to see this video and subscribe.
Uh-huh.
Follow us. We have more stories and more insight to share.